Never joke, never joke, never joke. Oh, money never, money never, money never, money. Now know what you can even money. Money never, money never, money never, money. You can keep, you can even money. When you've been a corrupt in a bill, tell me money. Now because your money done, you come with conniving money. When you had your pocket full, in a bill, tell me money. Now because your money done, you hustle, so tell me money. Yes, money never, money never, money never, money. Now know what you conniving money. Neighbor joker, neighbor joker, neighbor joker. That's all the money that me work for. A 2 pound note and a guilder piece. A 2 pound note and a guilder piece. A 2 pound note and a guilder piece. This is all the money that me work for. I said money never, money never, money never, money. Now know what you can I get money. Oh, Joseph.
Money never morning. Money never morning. Money never morning. I don't want the conniving morning. Neighbor Joe come. Who call this money what me work for? A 2 pound note and a guilder piece. Morning, y'all. Welcome to another program of BUXTONIAN Morning Time. I am your host, Kidaki Amsterdam, and I'm coming to you live on social media, that is Facebook Live, from the studios of KAMSTV located in Buxton. It is the third day of a new year. Yes, the third day of a new year. It's the 3rd of January in the year 2022. Right? You know, we have a saying we usually say in the community. Same shit, different day. But as we're in the 3rd day of the new year, I can say same cabal, different year. Because we are right here, nothing has really changed over the short holiday period, December 25th to 31st, thereabout, if you want to count that week as the holiday, into January 1st and so on. Nothing has really changed. What you are dealing with is the same cabal. And when we talk about cabal, usually, I don't know what some people interpret it to mean. What's a cabal? What's a mafia? When you talk about a cabal, you talk about that political clique. Usually a secret political clique. But in this instance, I don't know if we can say that the PPP is secretive about anything. I think they're bold. They're brave, they're emboldened, they're brazen. All those adjectives can be used to describe the PPP and the actions. Okay? And so when we talk about a cabal in this country, we are talking about a brazen set of thieves, hooligans, and thugs that will do anything whatsoever comes to their mind, is to their liking, and will fulfill their aims and aspirations to fatten themselves of the patrimony, of the resources of the inheritance of Guyanese citizens. And so here we are in 2022, the third day of the new year, and we're faced with the same set of people. Nothing has changed. Well, perhaps some things have changed. I hope some things have changed. I hope some people would have had the opportunity to reflect on what 2021 was. And as some will ask, how did we get there? I hope some persons have had well, everyone, as a matter of fact, has had the opportunity to reflect on the journey to where we are right now. A country that is filled with so many resources, a country that offers so much hope. Not so long ago, people are desperate and destitute in this current time. How did we get here? That's the question that many will ask. But the fact is, we are already here. They say don't cry over spilled milk, but they also say don't forget the past. If you forget the past, you will make the same mistake moving forward. And so while it is spilled milk, we must look at that spilled milk and determine what were the factors that resulted in it being spilt. And moving forward, decide how we can prevent it being spilt in the future, or how we can prevent it being spilt further. Because you see, sometimes you spill things and all is not lost. And I dare say that in this society, all is not lost. But it will take self-determination to save that which is left. Good? And that self-determination has to come first and foremost from the citizens of this country. We have to start being patriots again. And then we can look to the political leadership and say, well, hey, we are ready. Where are you? Where do you stand on this issue? It is the citizens, it is party members and comrades and associates who must call on the political leaders right now on matters of import and force them or demand that they make known publicly their positions on serious political matters affecting the citizens. And as I'm saying that, let me take the time to say, hey, big up yourself, Aubrey Norton. I listened to the New Year's address of Aubrey Norton, leader of the PNCR, and he touched on some serious issues. But because it is closest to me, and it originated from a political party where I reside, I must say congratulations. At least one PNC leader has come around to accepting publicly what we commonly refer to as the Buxton proposal, made several years ago by Clive Thomas on the 1st of August at the Friendship Primary School. What was the Buxton proposal? That from his projections, from Clive Thomas's projections, oil production is going to be so what should I say, profitable. Oil production is going to bring so much money to this country that as a direct benefit to citizens from the petroleum industry, every citizen can get, or should get, or it should be analyzed. The possibility should be investigated for every citizen to get $5,000 yearly as a grant. $5,000, a mere 1 million Guyana dollar. Every citizen should get 1 million Guyana dollar yearly from oil production, based on the projections that Clive Thomas, Professor Clive Thomas, that well-known economist, well-respected economist, had proposed that in Buxton. The rest is history. Granger knocked it down, teach a man how to fish, not give him a fish, etc., etc. Right? All of that was said. But that was the proposal from Clive Thomas. A lot of people beat up on Clive Thomas. because they couldn't understand his numbers, despite the fact that he tried explaining. You see, many instances we hear or we listen to answer. We don't listen to understand and then respond. And that was part of the problem, I believe, with leadership and citizenry and the civil society and so on when they were attacking Clive Thomas. But we have lived to see the day to see our production ramped up. And it is going to be ramped up further. And so the numbers are getting to where Clive Thomas projected. And the projection is that they will surpass. And so Aubrey Norton, in his New Year address, did say he's calling for the activation of the Buxton proposal. And I support Clive Thomas, and I support Aubrey Norton. Now, we Guyanese citizens should support Aubrey Norton and call for the activation of the Buxton proposal. Even if there has to be, or there have to be modifications to it, we ought to demand the activation of the Buxton proposal. Every household must be given that $1 million. Why do I say that, and why we need to agitate for it? Because the reality is, without accepting it in a public way, without making it known to every citizen of this country, the PPP is granting oil money to citizens, is giving grants to citizens. In short, is using the Buxton proposal in a modified way. They have not given to their own $1 million, at least not as a lump sum, not as 5,000 US. And there's another catch. Giving 5,000 US yearly doesn't mean that it has to be paid as a lump sum. Keep that in mind. Right? Clive Thomas might have proposed it as a lump sum. But what if you get it in 4 quarters? You get it quarterly, $250,000 per quarter. You will end up at $1 million. What if you get it half yearly, $500,000 every 6 months? You will end up at $1 million. Right? And so, the PPP is using the Buxton proposal. We saw in the last few months, for example, they give to sugar workers, several severed sugar workers, $250,000. That's $250,000. They went into other sections of the country and they gave their supporters so-called flood relief. They went in other sections still, and they give their supporters money under the table. Then they doled out very big hampers, right? And so the question is, why only certain sections of this society are enjoying the grants? Why the Buxton proposal is only used to quote-unquote fortify certain sections of the society? We know it's political patronage. The Buxton proposal in this instance is being used as political patronage. And it is one of the things Professor Clive Thomas wanted to avoid, that caused him to say every household, rich, poor, in between, every household. Because if you give that $1 million to every household, if you accept the Buxton proposal to give 5,000 US to every household, it means that nobody can cry wolf, because every household, regardless of social and financial standing, will get $1 million, 5,000 US. And so you can't say it's discriminatory. It's political, it's vindictive, because everybody gets. But no, the PPP doesn't want it like that. And so in their minds, secretively they modified it, and they're giving only to a particular group of people. And so they say, what is sauce to the goose must be sauce to the gander. What is good for the goose must be good for the gander. And so if certain sections are getting, then we must demand that we get. This government must be made to adopt the Buxton proposal, make it known how they are going to make it a reality, and so every citizen can look forward to their ounce of flesh. And so yes, I certainly support Aubrey Norton, and I'm encouraging you this morning. All of us need to support. Right? That call by Aubrey Norton. Claude Warden is making the argument that many argued, that many made. And that is giving $1 million to Guyanese citizens once a year will act as a disincentive to them getting employed. Well, Claude Warden, with all due respect, all the politicians, all the economists, all the social activists, all the civil society members and representatives, and yourself, y'all dep on stupidness. Right? The word that came to mind is dunce. Y'all, and let me classify dunce here. Let me use the correct word. Y'all ignorant. Because ignorance, they say, is a lack of knowledge. And y'all lack knowledge. Because you fail to understand. Many of you have not lived among the poor and walked among the poor. And so you don't understand what $1 million can do to get people out of the rut they are to start with. It is money that people can look forward to, they can make projections on. But let us address the issue as to whether or not they will be encouraged to work. What is $1 million? $1 million is less than $100,000 a month. Can people really and truly survive? It's about 80,000. 12 8 is 96. That's 960,000. You have 40,000 left. So let's say $83,000 a year, a month. Can people really survive on $83,000 a month? That if you're receiving $83,000 a month, you will not work? I hope to receive your answer in the chat, Claude Wharton. And all those who have opposed this proposal for $83,000 a month, I want you to defend your position. The minimum wage in this country is $70,000 a month. And so basically what people will be receiving is a minimum wage. How do people survive on the minimum wage in this country? You go and ask the public servants how they survive. I can tell you how they survive. I've seen them do it. Do you know that currently teachers are back to vending in schools? Teachers are selling in schools. At least up to the end of the last term, teachers were selling in schools. I know public servants who have to do a side hustle, as you call it. Some choose to do it, quote unquote, the legal way, in that they find something to sell. Others simply steal and are corrupt. Good? And so let us not get this foolish idea in our head that giving somebody $1 million will encourage them not to work. That's a joke. And so many of us sit in our glass houses and we look at those who are in Plastic City. And tell ourselves, give them $1 million. They're going to drink it out, they're going to smoke it out, they're going to fear it out. They're going to blase, they're going to lick blackboard. But have we really sat down to examine what $1 million is? What $1 million represents in this country? The cost of living is so high in this country right now. The pepper pot lovers will tell you they had hell buying beef. It was 800 and 700 a pound. And my guess is, with all of the beef that has been consumed over the holidays, you will end up with a beef shortage in the early months of the year. So guess what? Guess what? Beef might reach $1,000 a pound, like other things. So let us not talk crap. It is the same crap that encouraged David Granger to pay scant regard to the Buxton proposal. And the acceptance of that proposal could have been a game changer for the elections. Right? You understand what I'm saying? Because more people would have supported a political party that said openly, we will give you $1 million, not under the table, but as your entitlement as a citizen of this country producing oil. And so regardless of all the rig that the PPP rigged, they would have really had to rig. Right? To get past the people. Now, I like when viewers engage me, except that it will change my program projection for this morning. But as a teacher, when you get into the classroom, you look for previous knowledge for some students. And if the majority of the class doesn't possess the knowledge to move forward and they want, therefore, to discuss it, then we will discuss it. Right? Because unless you have that foundation going forward, no point us teach anything new. And so let's talk about the Buxton proposal a little bit more, because Roy Blackman is saying, with all due respect, it's way too early to endorse the Buxton proposal. That money should be used for collective development. Blackman, let me refrain from giving people labels and deal with the issue. They say don't attack the message. Let's talk about that. What is happening in this society right now is that the cabal is claiming that the oil wealth is being used for collective development. What is collective development? The cabal went to Parliament the other day and they argue that this amendment to the NRF, that they passed fraudulently because we still have to deal with that issue, the conditions under which they claim this NRF bill was passed. And they knew to themselves that it was passed fraudulently. Because as soon as it was passed, the fat guy assented to it to make it law. And since it was assented to make law, it means that now you have a task of challenging a law as against challenging the conditions of the passage of the bill. Let's understand that. Good? That we have to discuss in depth. But let us put it as a note. Now let's talk about this collective development. They argue that they want to bring the NRF account to zero balance right now. And in justifying the passage of this bill to get to withdraw all of the money in the NRF right now, they're arguing across the media that the money is going to be used for development. Roads and buildings and schools and so on, infrastructure. want to ask y'all something. I want to ask y'all something. With all of this so-called development that took place in this country from last year, August, to current, what were the benefits to the collective? Identify the benefits to the collective. Identify, for example, because the money that is spent from last year, August to current, way exceeded what is currently in the NRF or what was currently in the NRF. Where did those money go? Who were the beneficiaries of those money? As we are talking collective development, which sections of the society benefited from the development created by that money? Until you can say to me it is every section of this society, then the collective development thing ain't working. And we know it is not every section, because we know that the contractors were handpicked. We know that the areas in which those monies were spent were not areas with the most need, but areas with the most PPP supporters. With all of that money spent, with a whole set of billions being spent to do road construction, to recap roads in Indian-dominated communities supportive of the PPP, where there was no real need to recap those roads, while there were roads, or there are roads in places like Buxton and Beirut and Paradise and Melanie, and I can name them a long list of black communities, where the need is greater for roads to be fixed, among other infrastructural projects to be undertaken. But none of that money went there. In other words, in quite the opposite, it went to communities that did not really meet that need. So don't tell me about using the money for collective development. And I'm also saying, Ghana has 750,000 persons, approximately, as a population. Right? And so if you give $1 million a year, it's $750 million. What am I saying? Miss that calculation there. We're talking about 750,000 persons, right? And we're giving $1 million. My immediate guess is about 7.5 billion. Am I right? Y'all help me with that maths. Or let me use my calculator to be sure. I don't want to call me dunce like the dunce president. Right, so it's 750,000. Multiply by what? 1 million, eh? Good. Yes. 750 billion? 7.5 billion? I don't know, man. I can't get this thing right. But hear me. Y'all can do the maths to me. That is a drop in the ocean. And note, I use the entire population. Yes, Rod Blackman is telling me it's for a soul. But I deliberately use the entire population, which I'm explaining now. Right? I use the entire population of 750,000 persons. And there's a drop in the ocean compared to the amount of money that oil is bringing. But let's go to the reality. Let's go to the reality. The reality is that money is going to every household. How many households do we have in this society? When they did the COVID grant, they put the numbers out there. Right? I can't remember if it is about 600, I can't remember the exact number of households. But I'm saying that if you give $1 million to each household, the money is minuscule. The money is minuscule. And so there will still be money enough for collective development. No, Ron, I'm not changing the discussion. The discussion is this. Giving $1 million to every household that is adopting the Buxton proposal is not going to stymie collective development. You see, some people believe that these things are exclusive. It is like, give them $1 million and forget collective development. Or do collective development and don't give them anything. No, the two are not exclusive. They can be inclusive. They can actually work simultaneously because there is enough. There is enough. So you can give the $1 million per household. Let individuals decide what they will do with that to improve their quality of life. You can tie some deliverable state, for example. All your children must go to school on a regular. Right? Your basket of goods must change to reflect a more healthy lifestyle. Those are things you can tie to the $1 million grant if you want to. But you can give every household $1 million and still have enough money for collective development. So we're not affecting collective development because there's enough. But what is happening, what a lot of people have argued, is the same thing Raul is perhaps saying, and what Wharton was saying. Wharton is saying if you get them money, they ain't gonna work. Blackman is saying if you use the money and give them, you can't do collective development. Nah. Both of those two arguments are fallacious. Because I explained, if you look at the money that you're giving them, is approximately $83,000 a month. They really can't sustain any household properly. People gotta go work to supplement it. In fact, that will work as a supplement to people's salary, those people who are working already. Right? So let's not make that argument. And so I'm saying the time is. Because when we here are talking about why it shouldn't be done, just like they were talking in the past, the PPP is doing it, like I said. But they're doing it clandestinely, so only some people get the benefit. And therefore, we must agitate so that every citizen gets the benefit. Right? How much money they withdraw the other day, man? And how much is still to come? And production is being ramped up. But with this collective development argument, that's what the government's saying they're doing. You're going to have our monies invested in more public-private partnership to build bridges and wharves and so on that will be owned by the PPP and their cohorts. The state might get a 10% in it, despite investing hundreds of billions of Guyanese money, like they did with the Berbice Bridge. You will see them spending more, for example, on roads. But big chunks of the expenditure on those roads and other infrastructure projects will go to their cohorts and back to the PPP as kickbacks. You will see them like they're claiming using a lot of that money to offset tax relief to importers and big merchants, with the argument that the benefits will trickle down to customers and consumers, and you know very well that that doesn't happen in this society. Right? You will find that they will spend big chunks of that money on arming the Guyana Police Force especially, members of the Guyana Police Force especially. The Guyana Defense Force will get benefits. But most of that money, a lot of that money in terms of defense will be spent to arm the Guyana Police Force because they will use them against the citizens of this country. They will use that money to create a state where citizens cannot stand up for their rights. And so that's the kind of collective development you guys are talking about. That's the kind of collective development I think we ought to be opposed to. So let us at least agree on one thing. Collective development is not working in this country the way it should. The benefits are not felt equally across the land. In fact, this form of collective development is not even being practiced across the land. So forget the collective development thing. What can citizens do with $1 million to help themselves out of poverty while collective development is being invested in? Because the two can go together. Let's keep that in mind. So when we're opposing, let us reason before we oppose. Some people just oppose to opposition's sake. They look at it from one angle and that's it. Right? It's now 7 hours 21. I think I'm done with that Buxton proposal talk. Hopefully, I am. If there's another question, push it quick so I can respond to it. Let me remind you that this program comes to you with the kind compliments of Kidam's Hideout Fish Shop, Bar and Grill. And they're located on Sideline Dam, Buxton North. And they're open for business. And we encourage you to go down there and support the business which supports this program. I want to also encourage you to continue to support us. So that we can keep these platforms and we can keep our programs, discussions on air in whatever way, shape, or form. In this instance, we're using social media because you know the challenges. So I encourage you to lend us your support. There's the Cash App, $BUXT. When you send your contributions there, David Hines will pop up. So just put a note, well, this is for X program, Y program. And so we'll get those contributions properly streamlined. Those of you who would like to send your contributions by Western Union, you can send it to Kidaki Amsterdam, or you can hit me up on WhatsApp and I can give you further details. MoneyGram, definitely you have to hit me up on WhatsApp so I can give you those details. Note I'm emphasizing WhatsApp because I hardly ever use the Facebook Messenger. Sometimes days after people send me a message, I happen to go into Facebook Messenger and then I see it. And I know there are lots of people who say, lots of people who say, this man don't respond to me on Messenger. It's just that it's not a place I usually go. But so you have to forgive me if you'll be messaging me on Messenger and I have not responded or not responded in a timely manner. If you're local, you're here, you can send us contributions via MMG, and you can use the same number 6225933 to send your MMG contributions. Just remember that it's a deposit to the MMG account and not a top-up. Right? You have to make that very clear to the agent that you're dealing with. It's a deposit to the MMG account. It's not a top-up. Good? So I encourage you, support us. And of course, every now and again, we do these fundraising events locally, physically, takeaway lunch. Sometimes we do a party and so on and so forth. And we would expect that you will support it so that we can get the necessary resources to do the work. I'm looking forward to do a lot of things on this platform this year. I have some program ideas. Now there's the Chapman itself. Please check your messenger. See what I'm talking about? Y'all are some one-way people, man. Anyway, I want to be visiting communities or have someone who will visit communities and report on their plight. That, in my mind, is a special program I want to call Poor People's Plight. Note the acronym, PPP. The PPP represents Poor People's Plight. And so I want people to associate PPP with Poor People's Plight. I want us to go into communities and identify the things which are affecting residents. That will require some resources for many reasons. Number one, I don't see myself going into those communities. I would rather have somebody do it. So we will have to provide the resources to them to do it. A camera, a DSLR camera, tripod, transportation or transportation allowance, a stipend perhaps. Not perhaps, people are putting in their time so they have to be rewarded for it and so on. So I'm looking forward to the kind of support that will allow us to at least get one quote-unquote correspondent who will go out there and gather the information so that we can share it with you and try to change the whole status quo surrounding these things. That's a projection I have for the year. Good. There are other things which I would want us to achieve during the year, including some physical protests and so on in front of some ministries to highlight some issues. Good. And so when I ask you, and I'm asking you early, I know this is your budgetary period, you start making a budget for this year. So, certainly, Rhonda. So I'm saying to you, when you're budgeting, put aside something for a monthly contribution to KAMSTV. Good? When you finish your budget, you perhaps could cut your dining out budget by quarter and say, well, hey, this based on my budget, I should be spending $500 a month on dining out. Let me give $100 to KAMS monthly. I will dine out on $400. So I'm encouraging you because we, as a team, must get this government to do better. We, as a team, must keep on the front burner all of the wickedness of this cabal and work conscientiously to either make them change or get out of the way. Right? Make them change or get out of the way. And I say that because I usually tell people, a lot of people believe my problem is with the PPP in government. My problem is not the PPP in government. My problem is the PPP's attitude in government. Had it been the PNC with the same attitude, I would have had a problem. Had it been WPA with the same attitude, I would have had a problem. In short, what I want to see for this country, what I want to see for this country is good governance. Governance that will make every citizen happy. Our happy index must go up, man. We've been sad for too long. We've been worried for too long. We've been anxious for too long. And so any government who can come along and change the fortunes of the Guyanese citizens because they're being fair and good managers of our resources, I don't have a fight with. That's my position. Good governance is what I'm fighting for and what you should be fighting for. And those who are supportive of the PPP must ask themselves if they're really supportive of good governance and democracy, democratic principles. Certainly not. Certainly not. A lot of them are supportive of the handouts that they're getting. Like Ian McDonald, what's his name, McDonald? McPherson. Ian McPherson. Manzu Nadir Stout. Y'all remember the guy? Manzunadi is stout. Let us talk about the PPP and corruption in the parliament. Because that's what is happening in the parliament. Right? This guy McPherson, we spoke about him last week. A lot of people highlighted a lot of things. For example, they say he was a tout. Some say he was a corrupt policeman, and so on and so forth. What I know for a fact, which I pointed out, is that he's the quote-unquote personal assistant.
Neighbor, fuck. A 2 pound note and a guild up this. A 2 pound note and a guild up this. A 2 pound note and a guild up this. This is all the money that me want for. Money, neighbor, money. Money, neighbor, money. Money, and I don't want you conniving money. Oh, Joseph. Give me that with the one, you know.
Blessed love. There's no love like self-love. Respect to the massive. Morning. Welcome to another program of BUXTONIAN Morning Time. I'm your host, Kidaki Amsterdam. I'm coming to you live from the studios of KAMSTV in Buxton. And of course, we're broadcasting on social media, Facebook Live. Thank you for allowing me entrance into your space. Thank you for tuning in to this morning's program. I trust you had a good yesterday and the days before. I trust that your days were successful and progressive and that you're seeing growth in whatever you do. I wish you success in this year 2022. I trust you were well rested last night and you are re-energized today to confront those things which need confronting. Whether in your personal life, whether national issues, community issues, whatever. No man is an island. No man stands alone. Those are some of the things we must keep in mind. No man is an island. We don't live in a bubble. We don't exist in a bubble. And since we don't exist in a bubble, the onus is upon us to consider the impact of our actions, the impact of our conduct, not only on our immediate relatives and friends, but our communities as a whole. And so when some people say or use my favorite term, I don't care, I don't give a damn, I am doing me. In short, we all behave as though we live in a bubble. We don't consider others. But it's important that we consider others because the fact is, our now certainly will have an impact on our future, on our next step. Why am I saying all of this? I just ranting. I feel like ranting like some people rant. I promised you that we were going to talk about fires and corruption. But I also want us to talk about ethnic identity and self-love. Because unless you can recognize the importance of self-love, unless you can recognize the importance of your ethnic identity, you are simply going to be rolling along. Wherever the wind blows will be cool with you. Right? Wherever the wind blows will be cool with you. And I'm seeing in our society a lot of people who are just willing to go with the flow. A lot of people are just willing to throw their hands up in the air and say, well, you know, I can't control this. If he can't beat them, join them. It's the right of every human being to decide what is good for him or her. But when you consider yourself as offering leadership to people, then what is good for you in many instances take the back seat. You have to start thinking community and not self. And so when I look around this society of ours, I recognize that there are many of us who see ourselves as leaders, who call ourselves leaders, who say we're offering leadership. But a deeper analysis of our actions simply points to us being self-preserving. Self-preserving. Self-preservation is nature's first rule. So I can't blame you for being self-preserving. But I can blame you for climbing on the backs of people, for misusing the trust that people have placed in you to achieve your set goals. I have a problem with that. Be self-serving, fine, be self-serving. Set your goals, work towards them, work diligently towards them. But consider the fact that it would be unfair, it would be unkind, it would be inhumane to use others and their trust in you to achieve your goal without considering the impact on their lives. See, I'm asking myself again, why am I saying this? Why am I ranting? I'm calling it rant. I'm ranting. Because the good brother James Bond sees me as a racist. I ain't pick no corn with James. I know what James picking corn with me for. Yesterday, caller mentioned what is now being called umbrella gate. The behavior of James Bond in terms of holding umbrella over Azzuddin Mohammed. Those of you who were tuned into yesterday's program would remember me simply asking the caller if the picture was reversed, what would have been his reactions? That's all I asked. Y'all fretting that James Bond holding an umbrella over this Indian man head, Azzuddin Mohammed, or whatever his name, a PPP financier and friend of the government and so on. Y'all fretting over that. You're fretting over one of your black leaders holding an umbrella over the head of somebody you consider an enemy to your cause. My simple question was, what if the picture were the other way around? In other words, what if it was a photo showing Azzuddin holding an umbrella over James Bond's head? That's all I asked. And so I am drawn into this nonsense video. 2 lies James Bond did to explain his behavior, his conduct, his relationship with Azzuddin and Hamper Gate, as it is called, and so on, Hamper Nation, whatever. 2 videos. One of them in my mind couldn't get lower than it went. When you have to resort to expletives to explain yourself, it shows how shallow you can be. I don't pick fights, but I'm ready for any battle, any fight. Right? And if I have to resort to expletives, then it tells me that I'm gone to the lowest of low. Sokunu Muma and F-Ree and so on. Low. That's in the gutter. That's where it belongs. Right? So because I would have perhaps said, what if the picture were the other way around? Or because I did the analysis and says the optics are everything. What I saw there at the Melanie ground with this hamper distribution arranged by James Bond using the AP and UFC infrastructure. I'm a racist. In attempting to make his case that he is not racist, James pointed out that he has been married twice. He has been married twice. And both of his wives were Indian women. Indian women. I have not been married to any Indian woman. I'm not being married to any woman that is not of my ethnic ilk. But that doesn't make me racist. As a matter of fact, it says that I'm in love with myself. Right? It says I'm in love with myself. Self-love. That is what is important to me. And if self-love is considered racism, then by all means, call me racist. Let's flip the script. Is James saying to me, or saying to the listeners, that there were none good enough among his ethnic group to be wife material? Is James saying to me that the only way he could find companionship, love and satisfaction, supporting a woman, she had to be Indian, or she has to be Indian? Is James saying to me that the only path to his goals and aspiration is an Indian woman or an Indian good friend as in Azruddin Mohammed? Is that what James is arguing? Well, I'm arguing that the fact that you can't find a black woman good enough to be a wife, you can't find a black man good enough to be your best friend according to you, you have serious interpersonal issues. You are guilty of self-hate, brother. But don't let your self-hate spill over to others. Don't bring it on my door. Don't bring it on my door. When I come to this program, I come to this program with facts and information. I try to be fair to everyone. I ain't got time with what James do with his life. But I have time with what James does to the life of others he proclaimed to lead. And for as long as you're a public figure, you can be analyzed and discussed. I don't care who antagonizes me, because I put myself out there. Like I usually say, yeah, point to the skeletons and use them as much as you can, but find them. Right? Racist? Me? You gotta come again. Along with critics and others, these brothers are throwing taunts at those of us who are maintaining these programs, who are carrying on these programs, and who are asking viewers support so that we can stay online. Talking about who begging for $5 and $10 and so on. Yes, we are requesting of our viewers for $5 and $10. You know why? We are not sucking off of the resources of the Guyanese people through the PPP. Right? There's a document which shows how the PPP used financing to put Guyanese critic where he is. In time it will be revealed. And so critic, for example, doesn't have to ask people to contribute $5 and $10 because he is funded by the state. The PPP is using taxpayers' money to fund the critic. And then say he passed begging stage, he begging for 20,000, 5,000. That's a good thing. He has never applied for a house lot. He bought his home through the bank. That's a good thing. But answer this, my brother. Governments have never done anything for you. Why it is the ordinary Guyanese citizen, and I stayed away from addressing this issue for years, at least since the last election. Why is it the ordinary Guyanese citizen couldn't go to Nissil and get hundreds of acres of land to lease and flip to whatever value, whether it is 200 million or 2 million US? And governments have never done anything for you. I am proposing this morning, I am saying that your access to those lands and the proceeds from flipping them were facilitated by your closeness to government. You ever applied for a house lot of 50 by 80 or whatever the dimension? Because that is small potatoes compared to hundreds of acres of land which you could flip and make millions of dollars, which you can invest in a home. Whatever the order is, before or after. Let us understand these things. I usually say fool attack, fool not listen. Right? But I pay attention. I pay attention when y'all come with this foolishness. I ain't got no fight with James. I ain't got no fight with anybody who see a way of making a quote-unquote hustle through their relationship with government. That is a matter for them. They must know. They must know whether they can sleep well at night with a clear conscience. I certainly can. I can sit here and say government didn't do nothing for me. I always say when my go-mates, my classmates, my friends were fighting up with government land and squatting and so on, I tell them, I say, I'll try there with that, me ain't got the time to waste. I'm going to get land before any of y'all get regularized. And I work diligently. And I bought my first piece of land. I wasn't yet 30, I am sure about that. Right? So, when y'all come with this nonsense about people being racist because they point out your failures as a leader, I can deal with you. James says in one of his videos that you want to know who are the politicians and leaders with your interests at heart? Go and ask them for something. Well, some of us have nothing to give. We don't have tangibles to give, but we can give good guidance. And we can strengthen, we can give good moral compass. I've been giving to my community and communities since I was about 13. I've been teaching free. Education is the key to getting people out of poverty, generally. I've been doing that for all of my life. So I've been giving, I continue to give. Many times you hear me say, I'm going on a hamper distribution. Do you see photos and do you see videos that put people out there to say, well, they're poor and down-pressed and they're hungry belly? No. I always say you don't have to be poor in public. And so many of them who turn up with hampers or gifts and a camera, they do it for their own self-aggrandizement. And so when James and Mohammed and the critic and all of them turn up at Melanie for instead of giving hampers to poor people, it's for their own selfishness, it's for their own aggrandizement. You could have gone quietly into the night and do it. But no, a big fuss must be made of it. A fuss that has placed our people in an embarrassing situation, quite frankly. A fuss that says to the world, yes, they are indeed hungry belly. Look how they're behaving. Look how they're behaving. They're indeed hungry belly. Why? If you're serious about helping people and helping them without this aggrandizement in mind, you would put proper systems in place. Here how it goes. If you have a chit system, as people turn up, you hand them a chit. Children in that direction, adults in that direction. This is your chit. Present your chit and collect your gift. You cannot have a mad rush. And near pandemonium, people climbing on each other. For you to stand or have critics stand in the background and say, wow, look at this. Wow. Wow, watch them hungry belly black man. Wow. You've failed your people and you've exposed them to ridicule. And so when you in turn are being ridiculed, take it like a man. Don't come attacking people as racist. I love myself, I love my people, I will do anything for my people. And if you call that racist, fine, I can deal with that. But let us talk about racism and the people who are your good friends. Critic is your good friend, you said that. Azzuddin Mohammed is your good friend, you said that. Both Critic and Mohammed have the ears of the Infernali government, illegitimate as they are. Mohammed is known to have provided security and other support to Ali during the election campaign and immediately after there. Critic has always been known to be in the PPP camp, quite frank, parking meters. Bought out Critic because of his public appeal. Set him up. Fund him for him to attack black people. But this is your friend. Right? Let me tell you something you don't know. Critic and I used to hang together. Yeah, we used to hang together. We used to Lyman Rap Street together at Cloud Technology. Sean Pemberton had a business there. We used to reach up there and drink beers. And gaff. And we talked a lot of things. I know a lot of things that were discussed there. I knew when the PPP was quoting Critic. Critic approached me. First to form our own political party or movement. We were going to get this support. The PPP was providing that support. And so Critic had no reason to ask anybody to support this with $10 and $20. The PPP are the finances behind Critic. Right? Critic was considered then an associate because we hung in the same space. Not necessarily a friend, I never knew him close enough. Right now, having looked at critics over the years, I don't know that Critic and I can share the same space in comfort. Because I see him as a person who has disrespected me as a black person and my people. And if you're disrespectful to me and my people, we can't dwell in the same space comfortably. Because I see you in a different light. And so when leaders, or so-called leaders like James Bond, enable people like these to disrespect black people, I see them in a different light. Let's talk racism. These are two people who have the ears of the government. They are your good friends. You have black people interested at heart. Sit with them and convince them that they must convince the government that what they're doing is wrong. Until you, the national resources to the people of this country, you are part of the problem. Because you're not willing to rock the boat. Because rocking the boat, excuse me, rocking the boat will very well destroy your friendship with them. Or your friendship or whatever you call it with them. Let me be real. In my analysis, it's funny that this guy is talking about who is dividing Guyana. When not so long ago, as he's always on social media ranting, he was ranting about there being two Guyana when they closed this bar. And they're always running in to close his bar. And he's ranting about 2 Guyana. It is my fervent belief that the intent is to use his relationship with critics and Mohammed and whoever else to influence the government's reaction to him and his bar. And to do that, he's using the people who have placed their trust in him. Let me analyze you, man. Let me talk about you. Let me talk about you, man. Right? I know that many organizers on the east coast of Demerara and in Region 4, PNC, APNU organizers who have done a good job, who the PPP sees as having done a good job to organize the PNC and the coalition, have been approached by the PPP. They have been approached with offers. You deliver this constituent to us. Deliver this constituency to us, and we will take care of you. Deliver this area to us, and we will give you contracts. Deliver this area to us, and we will look out for you. I know offers like those have been made. I have names of people who have gone to meetings with representatives of the PPP based on these offers. And so who's to say that this grand ample distribution is not James responding to the call to deliver to us and we will take care of you. Deliver to us the people of the East Coast surrounding Melanie and Aslington and so on. Deliver them to us and your bar will be able to operate without interference. Let's talk. Let's talk about that. Let me give you the analysis. Because in one of his videos yesterday, he said, hey, if their political leaders ask them for something and see if they could get to you, all they're doing is run them out. They ain't delivering nothing to you. But not only is he apparently delivering to them, but he's delivering them to people. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about that. We are going to set up, Azruddin Mohammed and I are going to set up 20 chicken farms, poultry farms, for 20 youths in this area. And so they can have businesses that they can manage. Very well. Nicely done. Nicely done. But let's look at the implications. Who pays the piper calls the tune. A mouth is muzzled by the food it eats. And so Azruddin Mohammed, a PPP representative, comes into my area and gives 20 of my villagers resources to establish chicken farms. To establish chicken farms. Azruddin Mohammed is seen as a savior to those 20 young people. But here comes the political aspect or the political implications. Hey, you see how y'all doing well with these chicken farms? Y'all recognize this because we provide the resources, so yeah, right? The PPP that behind this, you know. Y'all gotta encourage other young people to come on board because they could get chicken farms and they could succeed too. And so the success of those 20 young persons will be used as a poster, as the bait for roping in others. For roping in others. And then, hey, y'all doing well with these farms. Let me go meet the Minister of Agriculture. Let me go meet Minister of Trade and Tourism. And so the relationships, these farms, this gift horse is used to create connections that will be used for political mileage. Is James that naive that he doesn't recognize that? Is he naive that he doesn't recognize that? Or he is considering what is in it for me? The PNC has left me out of the committee, the CEC, whatever. I'm not in the fold of the PNC as I would like to be, etc. And so I am looking for a new place to nest. Cause the PNC and move on, if you want to cause them. Right? Right? Cause the PNC and move on. Y'all ain't doing good by me. I'm going to change my political allegiance. I go into the PPP. Make it public. Don't be Jekyll and Hyde. And those of us who are standing for people, you call us racist because we stand for people. I'm not going to let that pass lightly. None of us live in a bubble. No man is an island. And James, you certainly are not an island. Let's analyze. Let's talk about hampergate, as they call it. You talk about, is that what you really want? A society that is dependent on an oil-producing nation with hundreds of billions of dollars? Its citizens should be relying on handouts, hampers, a little rice, a little flour, a little oil, a little this, a little that. Is that the kind of governance you are expecting as a political figure, as a leader? Well, I don't expect that. I am looking for much, much more than that for my people. Our people, Guyanese as a whole. With citizens, whether politically aligned, to ease this government. The Buxton proposal proposes $83,000 a month for every household. From that. Not hampers. Because if you're giving me a hamper, you're going to give me a hamper when it suits your cause. When I have to look to you again, give me a fair chance I'm entitled to. And let me make my way from there. So it's naive to think that we should be giving everybody a hamper. We should be giving everybody a cash grant, equal cash grant, and let them do what they see it best to do with. You want leadership? Go around the community and advertise it. So that black communities and the resources out there to fix leaking roof and broke down step, so that they can benefit with which these resources are used to empower people in the Indian country. It's wonderful. Give them 20 chicken farms. But they must get 20 chicken farms from the State Resource Business Bureau, where they can be trained and equipped, guided with their business proposals and so on, and then given their grants. And so like you will say, it's government resources. Government didn't do nothing for me. It's the people's resources. But don't use Azruddin Mohammed to fund the 20 chicken farms and then all our black brothers and sisters at ransom because they feel indebted to him. Understand that? Critic describes you as a successful businessman, a good lawyer, and so on. I have no problem with that. Each his own. Is important. I never applied for house lot for a year with the government of Ghana for miserly sum. Hampers. Hampers and exposing that accepting hampers are is the only way to survive. By keeping them in poverty so that they will always feel indebted to you. We can do that. Time spent on that. Right? Bar will get to operate uninterrupted. I will get a hearing of the PPP. They're going to be nice to me. To leave my bar alone, let them get your hearing. PPP came to office in an election. The PPP expect it to be conducted. And they are right? So, if you look at the environment a month or so ago, went to cover up fraud. Let's take the construction was destroyed in that fire. That section was destroyed in that fire. Investigations have shown coming out of that department to benefit to other areas. Department about being abused by Brutus and his male partner.